If you've spent time watching Chateau YouTube, you might have stumbled across Richmond Made, the spin-off of Chateau Diaries featuring Amaury and Nati. At first glance, it promises the same dreamy French renovation vibes, charming landscapes, historic buildings, and a peek into rustic chateau life. But after a few episodes, viewers notice something. Richmond Made is different. And not necessarily in a good way. Today, we're taking a tea-filled look at Richmond Made, why it sometimes feels slow, and why it's a stark contrast to the magic of Dan the Gardener or the colorful cast of Chateau Diaries. Grab your tea, because we're diving in. So, what is Richmond Made about? Most episodes seem to follow the same rhythm. Amaury and Nati arrive at the property, they cut wood, they show the landscape, they do a bit of minor renovation, and then repeat. Don't get me wrong, there's a quiet charm in watching people work with their hands in the French countryside. The camera lingers over the trees, the fields, the light hitting the stone walls. It's peaceful, almost meditative, but if you're expecting drama, excitement, or even a hint of the personality-driven chaos that made Chateau Diaries so watchable, Richmond Made can feel slow. Fans on Reddit and in YouTube comments often describe it as watching paint dry in the sun, though admittedly, in a very scenic setting. A big chunk of Richmond Made is devoted to woodcutting. Amaury and Nati methodically chop logs, stack them, and occasionally move them around. There's nothing inherently wrong with this, it's hard work, and the scenery is beautiful. But when you watch episode after episode of wood being chopped, it starts to feel a little monotonous. The landscape shots are also a recurring highlight, or should we say, a recurring pause. Endless panoramic views of hills, fields, and forests dominate much of the screen time. And yes, the scenery is breathtaking. But after a while, viewers can't help but wonder, is this a show about renovation, or a scenic slideshow with occasional woodcutting? The result is a pace that feels slow. Almost like the channel is content to let the landscape do the storytelling, rather than the people. Amaury and Nati themselves are pleasant to watch. They're competent, they smile, they work together efficiently. But here's the thing, they're not exactly television personalities. Amaury is calm, methodical, and quietly focused. Nati is cheerful and supportive. There's no overt tension, no playful bickering, no colorful back and forth that draws viewers in episode after episode. Compare that to Chateau Diaries, where each character brings something unique to the table, from quirky restoration styles to dramatic reactions to renovation mishaps. Or Dan the Gardener, whose calm expertise is peppered with humor, insight, and meticulous, satisfying transformations. Richmond Made doesn't have that spark. It's pleasant, but safe, predictable, polite. And while that works for some viewers, it doesn't make for gripping binge watching. Let's talk about Dan for a moment, because the difference is striking. Dan the Gardener doesn't just show work, he tells stories. Every garden bed, every pruning decision, every carefully restored corner of a chateau is framed with context, history, and a little bit of personality. Watching Dan isn't just about seeing someone work, it's about learning, imagining, and being charmed by his quiet humor. Richmond Made, by contrast, often feels like an instructional video without commentary. Logs are chopped, fields are shown, renovations are completed, but the storytelling and the personality-driven energy aren't there. It's a far cry from the charisma, expertise, and subtle drama that made Dan's content stand out. Then there's the comparison to the original Chateau Diaries. Chateau Diaries thrives on character interplay. Each episode highlights personalities, conflicts, and quirky habits, sometimes frustrating, often charming, always engaging. Richmond Made doesn't emphasize personalities. Amaury and Nati are competent, yes, but they don't clash, surprise, or overreact in ways that keep viewers on the edge of their seats. Essentially, Richmond Made is less about characters, more about process. And that's where some viewers feel it loses the charm. Richmond Made has a deliberate, slow pacing. And while there's a place for meditative content, it can feel repetitive. Episode 1, Cut wood, show field, sweep floor. Episode 2, cut wood, show field, move logs. Episode 3, cut wood, show field, tidy the workshop. After a while, viewers start to notice the pattern. The scenic shots are beautiful, but the content often lacks narrative tension. By contrast, both Chateau Diaries and Dan the Gardener create tension naturally, through design challenges, weather issues, or personality-driven problem-solving. Richmond Made opts for calm consistency, which is soothing but not exactly captivating for binge-watching. So where's the tea in Richmond Made? It comes from the contrast itself. Fans notice how Richmond Made's slow pace highlights just how dynamic and exciting Chateau Diaries is. Comments often compare Amaury and Nati's polite efficiency with the chaos, laughter, and drama of Stephanie and her colorful cast. Fans speculate on whether Richmond Made will evolve, or if it will remain a calm wooden landscape series. In other words, the tea is not drama from the creators, it's the subtle realization that this spin-off is a different flavor of Chateau content, serene, repetitive, and scenic, rather than lively and story-driven. Richmond Made isn't bad. It's just quiet, peaceful, slow. And while that appeals to some viewers, maybe those who want to relax with a cup of tea while watching logs being chopped, it's not high-stakes, character-driven entertainment. Amaury and Nati are competent, charming, and visually pleasing to watch. The landscapes are gorgeous. The work is methodical and satisfying for viewers who enjoy process videos. But for fans craving the colorful personalities of Chateau Diaries or the engaging expertise of Dan the Gardener, Richmond Made is a different experience entirely. It's a reminder that not all Chateau content is created equal. Some channels delight with drama and character. Others soothe with calm, repetitive tasks and scenic shots. Richmond Made clearly falls in the latter category. Richmond Made offers a serene, repetitive look at Chateau life, wood chopping, landscape appreciation, and quiet collaboration. For viewers looking for storytelling, colorful characters, or dynamic personalities, it can feel a little slow, but there's also charm in that simplicity. The landscapes are gorgeous, the work is satisfying, and Amaury and Nati are competent and likable. Ultimately, Richmond Made is a different flavor of Chateau YouTube. It's calm, scenic, and methodical, a far cry from the charm, humor, and energy that made Dan the Gardener and Chateau Diaries fan favorites. And maybe, just maybe, that's what makes it worth watching, a gentle, scenic contrast to the chaos we've come to love. Maybe the slower pace, the countryside, the pictures of the trees do interest some of the viewers. Chateau Walls also has merch now. Check out the description below and see if you are interested in a shirt, sweatshirt, mug, or notebook. You can also leave a comment below about what you think would be the best topic for our next video.